Welcome to the Solid Fast Pitch community. Guess who we have on today is the amazing Courtney Hudson, who is a pitching coach in Alabama. And I'm so enthusiastic. I couldn't be more thrilled to speak with her because she has really done some great things. I mean, over 3 years coaching at Division II, she had 142 wins and only 24 losses. They were runner-up national champions 2 times. She has her own amazing website, Coach at a Click. And I just love her philosophy. So, let's just kind of dig right in. So, most recently, she's been at Auburn doing some research. And, of course, we all love Auburn. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about that, Courtney? This is very exciting.
All right. So, I got the invitation to go to Auburn because a little bit of my background in engineering, and I've been studying the biomechanics and stuff. So through some mutual contacts, I got in touch with Gretchen Oliver, who's in charge of their lab down there, their pitching lab, who also travels with the team. And I got to sit down with her and spend several hours just talking softball and really on the biomechanical level. And I learned so much information, confirmed a lot of information also. And then the following week, I went back and watched them do a test on the USA team, so their pitching staff, 3 out of the 4 pitchers. So what they do there is really an injury prevention study because there's all kinds of studies going on for baseball, not much for softball. So that's really their focus. But they're also had some great performance tips that I learned that from just what muscles to use when. Do you have any follow-up questions with that?
Oh, I would love to talk about what muscles to use when, because I feel like, so Courtney, which I have failed to mention earlier, and I apologize for, is a personal trainer as well, which we're a very rare breed, I feel like, where it's pitching instructor and personal trainer. There aren't too many of us out there. And so talking about muscles makes me happy, but I think it's an integral part of making sure that you don't hurt yourself. So let's talk about, what was going on in terms of the muscles that should be used at certain points in the pitch and things along those lines.
All right, so the biggest one was glute activation. So yes, the gluteus maximus is the biggest muscle in your body. And it takes a long time to kind of wake it up, to kind of get it to turn on and start moving. So they do a lot of hip exercises. She called them the Jane Fondas. So just a lot of, internal, external rotation, flexion, extension, the abduction, adduction, all that stuff, just in different directions. So that's part of their warm-up routine. And it's very common for baseball to do kind of the same routine with their shoulders. You can get external rotation, internal rotation, but they're really focusing more on the hips. So that was very intriguing. And I asked her about the shoulder because it's a part of the pitch. She said, well, if the hips are kind of doing what they're supposed to do, and there's good scap activation and strength, the arm should be fine. But the hip activation and the glute activation was the major part of their focus and of their study, trying to get that muscle to really wake up and be able to use it before the game.
Which is interesting because most female athletes, so for those of you guys who don't know, your glute's like your butt. And basically, most female athletes in particular tend to have very weak medial glute. So that's something that really needs a lot of emphasis in training. And we are just I just try to hammer home all the time, cross-training is so important, and proper nutrition is so important. And you have a very unique approach to that in terms of how you train your pitchers. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I include workouts with all of my pitching lessons, especially in the off-season. In season, we kind of tone it down a lot, but we do a lot of lunges. We do a lot of, it's called an Arkansas lunge, which helps with the triple extension. So a sprinting coach from Arkansas University came up with this motion. So we do a lot of those. And then just glute bridges, single leg glute bridges, double glute bridges, weighted glute bridges, a lot of that stuff to try to wake up. We do it on the stability ball. They bridge pretty much as they pitch, just to try to wake up their glutes. And so one thing that I learned from the Auburn pitching lab is that those hip bridges that we were doing needs to be part of our warm-up and not part of our workout. So that's an adjustment that I'm going to be making with all my clients here very soon.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the most important pieces is like learning to get that muscle activation early on, like, and I can't fathom how this is still possible, but I still see so many teams go out and they run and they static stretch before a game, and I'm like, oh, like, has nobody done any homework since like 1980 over here? You know what I mean? Like, we've progressed a lot since that point. We've come forward a lot from there. But I mean, in terms of looking at the Olympic pictures and everything like that, like, what do you feel they have? And this doesn't have to be biomechanical. It could be like from an emotional standpoint or an intellectual or mental standpoint. What do you feel like they have that is missing in the general pitching population?
Well, there was 3 pitchers there, and I don't want to call them out because it was just observations. I didn't really get a chance to talk to them, but they were really completely different. There really wasn't overlap with mentality. One of them, like, showed up. She was about her business. I'm getting this done. And she, like, smiled, was polite, but you could tell laser focused, got in, got out, got what she needed to do, and left. The other one was, like, having more fun with it a little bit, but when it came time to pitch, you could tell, the veil kind of fell, and she was game mode, ready to go.
Ah, I love it.
The other one, I think she was just so tired. She was trying not to fall asleep. So she was just, kind of there. I know they've been traveling a lot, and they had a game, like, the day before. So she was a little reserved, and I talked a little bit with the catcher, and the catcher told me, okay, the one that was tired, that she gets a lot of, like, kind of pregame anxiety, but then she'll, like, shut out Japan, and, like, it was no business. But I know, so it's like before the game, she's nervous, but then she just, like, dominates once she gets in that circle. So it was really all over the board, and it was kind of fun to just witness that and then get a catcher's point of view, because they know more about the pitchers than the pitchers know themselves.
It's true, though. You get a good catcher and they know everything. It's amazing. But I mean, I think that's a really interesting observation, because I think it speaks to how different pitchers can function at a high level by taking different approaches. So we always talk about the psych scale. Are you operating best when you feel like you need to go out and, destroy someone? Are you operating best when you're sort of in this calm Zen place like Danielle Laurie? And I mean, there isn't necessarily a right or wrong answer for that, but it's a matter of knowing where you function best and recreating as often as possible. So really super fascinating stuff there. So
it was interesting to watch.
So now, in terms of your own personal pitching philosophy, because I love a lot of what you say and do, what do you feel like your pitching philosophy is in general?
Let's see. I've had several over the years. I'm trying to figure out mine right now.
Well, all good pitching coaches will change their philosophy, because good coaches will be coached, right? We're not hypocrites. We still want to learn,
Absolutely. I'd have to say about 10 years ago, so I've been doing this about 14 years. So 10 years ago, someone told me that only about 30% of girls who try to pitch are going to be pitchers. And I guess I've kind of made it a mission to, they went to a Jenny Finch camp, and she kind of told them that, hey, there's 100 people here that all get the exact same information, but probably 3 out of 10 are actually going to take it and do something with it. So that was kind of where she was going with that. So, and I've kind of made it a mission to be like, I'm doing 10 out of 10. Like, I'm going to get them all pitching at a certain level. And when people, I feel like if they're going to pay the money for a lesson, I think all the girls want to get better and they want to learn. And if they struggle with anything, there's something underlying, and that's where my personal training and my engineering kind of kicked in, because I developed a test that test the glute activation, head to toe range of motion, their core strength in 6 different directions, their ankle strength stability, their ability to move in multi directions, and then we do a strength to body weight ratio, and then we pitch. So I get a full profile of the athlete, kind of muscular, what's going on, and then I can say, oh, well, you want to work on your consistency. Well, your scaps are very, very weak. So your shoulder is just rolling around way too much. If we learn to tighten up our scalps, then that might help isolate the shoulder, keep it in a neutral position. So when we go around, we're more consistent. We're not releasing down here, releasing up here. Our shoulder's kind of locked in. So I'm able to find stuff like that. And it's helped a lot with the hitting and the running, because so one girl, she had left glute activation, but did not have right side glute activation. She's a right-handed batter. She kept hitting off her front foot. So when I told her dad that, he just looks at her and looks at me, and he apologizes to his daughter. Says, I've been yelling at her for years to stop hitting off her front foot. Said, well, that's where her power is on her left side, on her front foot. So we do some more glute bridges. Get that right side caught up, and now we can sit back and drive it more. And then another girl, she's worked with me for a year now, and she really hasn't changed her mechanics, and it's kind of, I'm still trying to sit in that philosophy that she wants to change, she wants to get better, she's not just being hard-headed. I found out that her core is just it's very bad. It's very weak in every direction. There's just forward setups, reverse setups, side bending, and rotational. She measured at the very bottom on all of them. So it's kind of makes sense now. Her motions are done to keep her balanced, because that's what she feels is that balance to her. So I just said, hey, let's just crush our core like for the next month, and I'm going to start seeing her again next week, and we'll see if that core strength improved, and now we can start making adjustments because she's comfortable. She's not going to feel so off balance. So that's kind of what I've started recently, to not make excuses for girls, but give them this is a real problem, and here's a real solution so we can meet your goals.
This is where, ladies, I really want to go down to Alabama and meet up with Courtney, because, like, this is the sort of stuff that trainers geek out over. Like, I just love all of this. Or if you're ever up in New York, like, feel free. But I have definitely noticed the girls I have specifically doing things like the yoga programs I reinforce, or like PIO and things like that. It's almost like they say, in terms of making a physical change, that it takes 6 to 8 weeks, but most of them in 2 weeks are like a different person. It's amazing how fast it works when you can't activate those muscles correctly, and then suddenly you can. It's like, oh my God.
Body.
That's right. It's your body, like, and now you've changed the game, basically. But I think another thing that is really, really important is Courtney is a mom. She's about to be a mom for the second time, which is so cool. And that's why we want. Oh, how adorable! Hi, baby.
Say hi.
Oh.
Say hi.
That's why we wanted to lock this interview in before you're very busy with an infant. Oh, beautiful. And so we want to talk a little bit, because I feel like a lot of kids' parents, they don't set a good example for their children by working out and eating well themselves, and then they kind of expect the children to go ahead and do it. So if you want to speak to that a little bit, and how you're managing like motherhood 2 times over, and still having your own business and still just being amazing, we would love to hear about that.
Well, my husband is a huge part of that. So he gets a lot of credit, and especially having to deal with the business side of me, and the hormonal pregnancy side of me, and the lack of sleep from a 2-year-old side of me. He's a trooper. He deserves a medal to help. We actually both run. He does baseball training. He does more on the teams. All right, we're going to set him down. Here we go, bud. My husband does baseball teams, so I kind of do the training during the week, and he gets to run his teams on the weekend, and we just got a good balance and, help each other out a lot, and, it's teamwork. He's a catcher, and I'm a pitcher, so we know how to work together.
I love that, and I think that's a lot how the family dynamic works, right? Is you have to say, like, okay, tag, now you're it. Okay, now we're going to do this. And you have to be able to read signs and all that. Same as in a game, same as in the game. Oh,
yeah.
So what do you feel is the most important thing mentally that you stress with your pitchers?
Mentally. We set extremely high goals, like impossible goals. Really impossible. So I know when college coaches are recruiting, they kind of look for so much fun. They look for a swing and a miss, because it doesn't matter the velocity or the spin. If you can make batters swing and miss, then you can help out their program. So our goal is to strike every single batter out. It's just and I say that in August because my program starts August, and I say that once a week. Strike him out, strike him out, strike him out. And in college with my pitching staff, our very first meeting was shutout. Shut them out. We have to shut every team out. Shut them out, shut them out, shut them out. And they heard it 2 or 3 times a week from me. They probably heard it in their sleep. But when we got into games, we didn't shut everybody out, but our offense was good enough that they were going to score at least 3 runs, and we were not going to give up more than 2 runs. So that's part of the reason we had that record that we had. It just really, really high goals to make it where we can't lose. And then most of the time we pull it off. Most of the time we win.
I love that. Yeah, and I think that's the whole thing is people tend to do the opposite. They tend to not set good goals at all or not set any goals. And then how are you accomplishing anything, But yeah, I mean, this is amazing, guys. If you want, Courtney is someone I very strongly recommend you follow on Instagram, especially as well, because it's something we love to see. She's posting pics of the things in Auburn and everything. I mean, this is just some incredible stuff. So any questions, you can, of course, contact and reach out to us. And I'd like to keep Courtney on for a second longer after this to get in touch. But ladies and gentlemen, Coach at a Click, you definitely want to keep up with Courtney and everything she's doing. This is just an amazing job. And thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to speak with us, Courtney.
No problem. And thanks for having us.
You got it. Awesome.